the people that are saying that, well, Israel's to blame, Hamas is to blame, no, homie, don't play that. Listen, I've been to Israel. I've been to the Middle East. I've gone to Syria. I've been to Jordan, Egypt, UAE, Turkey, Morocco. I've been to Arab countries. Going into Israel, I was actually stopped at the border, and because I had a Syrian stamp on my passport, despite being an American, they were not going to let me into the country. And the only reason that I eventually got in after an hour wait is because I was with an Israeli citizen who I had met in Jordan, and we were going in together, and he vouched for me, so they let me in. There is a distrust, there's a distance when you go to Jerusalem from the people. I found some Israeli citizens very nice, but the hardcores, they're very steeped in their religion and they're very insular. They don't want to necessarily invite you in. There was a rudeness in Jerusalem. Granted, I did not go to Tel Aviv, but I met some really cool people that were soldiers that were describing the situation to me, and they say they do everything that they can to avoid Palestinian deaths, that they are subject to the arms race of media coverage that is attempting to indoctrinate and hypnotize people into just siding with the Arabs. Because the truth is that Israel would much rather live in peace. The land was given to the Palestinians, again, in order to attempt to achieve that peace. They thought perhaps if we give them their own land and let them govern themselves mostly with some protections, then we will have a peaceful solution for the two sides. Well, it doesn't work that way when your enemy has written into its charter that it wants to abolish and destroy Israel and wipe it off the map. That is in their charter. That is Hamas. And for 20 years, they've been able to successfully indoctrinate kids there into their own school. The thought that you're going to find many Palestinian citizens in the Gaza Strip who are neutral on Israel after they have been told that the Jewish people are the enemies, the evil people, where they have video games of big-nosed Jews and you fight and you slaughter them, and that's how you win points. That is how deep the indoctrination goes there. I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but the majority of people support Hamas. And anybody that speaks up against Hamas, who's running it, who hasn't had an election since the initial one in 2006, gets slaughtered. There is no heterodox opinions when it comes to Hamas. And the way that they make money is from donations from abroad. This is why Yasser Arafat ordered the Intifada after the two-state solution was offered by the Israeli prime minister at the time, because he would not accept it, because he knew the funds would dry up. That's why Yasser Arafat died with $2 billion in the bank. All of that money siphoned off. And when people send money to Hamas, they use it to construct bombs, not for the good of their citizens, the minimal that they can expend on them in order to keep them in line, in order to keep their decrepit situation from falling below a level that they would have no choice but to rise up, and the rest they spend on bombs. When Israel sent them pipes and materials, they used it to construct rockets and missiles to launch into Israel. How can you possibly deal with these people? For whatever you think that Israel might have done or what they might be guilty of, Israel would love to live in peace with their neighbors. But it's not possible when you have a group whose sole mission in life is to destroy you. When you have the Hamas leader saying that Palestinians want to sacrifice themselves and die martyrs for the cause, and that you will ascend to heaven the more Jews that you slaughter. This is what they are taught. How can you deal with such people? The only option here is to destroy the leadership of Hamas, to get rid of it, and see if you can have a different ideology, one that is more peaceful perhaps, that takes over that area. Gaza Strip is on the Mediterranean Sea. It could have been developed into a luxury resort, and the world would have gone there and would have sung the praises of peace. But that is not Hamas's mission. Their mission is to destroy Israel. Tough. Israel exists. It's existed for over 70 years now. It's going to continue to exist. You want to go back? You want to lay claims to land that was stolen many times over? At what point do you say that this land is owned by somebody and that we don't want to go back because that will result in war? When you see the fighting between the wars between the native Indian tribes in America, there were plentiful. They were murderous people because this is what people are. It doesn't relegate itself solely to the American Indians. It's all over the world that is like that, and that includes the region of the Middle East, because we all know that the Middle East has forever been peaceful. Not. Look, I side with the Israelis because Hamas is evil, because they killed innocent babies, and now you're going to have a war of photos. Who has the most dead babies? That's what you're going to have a war over the minds of the public, over the minds of the world, and this is going to generate, unfortunately, support for Hamas, for the Palestinian cause, because so many people are inclined to, by the likes of MSNBC, that plays nonstop propaganda for them. That is why Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL criticized MSNBC the other day for basically putting an equivalence between the terrorism committed by Hamas, the dead Israeli babies, and the Israeli response. And that's what's going on all over the world. And I'm going to counter that and say, no, you have a population there steeped in hate by design, by the leaders that have subjected their citizens to nothing but indoctrination of and wanting the destruction of Israel. Is not dissimilar to the woke mind virus that is spreading so rapidly through America, through our public institutions, paid for by the US tax dollar, taught to hate America, taught to hate everything, wanting power for themselves to decolonize the world. And when you hear the word decolonize, just think in the future genocide, because that is what the leftists have demonstrated that they want, the exact same thing that Hamas desires to do to Israel. So I hope and pray for the average Palestinian citizen that does not get caught up in the death spiral brought to them by their leaders, by Hamas. But I support Israel's right to rid themselves of this cancer. And unfortunately, a few healthy cells of this body will be destroyed in the process. And do I weep for them? Yes, I wish that it wouldn't be so. On the other hand, when you cross a border, when you engage in terrorist activities and murder babies and burn down houses as a demonstration of how much hatred you harbor for your opponents, why should Israel hold back? What would you do if those were your babies that were slaughtered? That's right, you'd go after them with full force, and I'd be on your side.